TG Geeks, episode 161, March 19th, 2018. The Geek and the Two Gay Geeks have a nerd fest. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the two gay geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery. Sci-fi, comics, film, horror genre, you name it, we talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we are coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely, temperate Phoenix, Arizona.
And I'm Ben Raggington, also coming to you from, I want it to be a geek fest.
A
Because
geek
you can
fest.
never say the word geek too many times.
Geek.
Also,
geek.
yeah, in Phoenix, is that the geek bird?
The geek bird.
Yeah. It's a geeklet.
The geeklet.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a geeklet with us here.
Yeah. Hardly.
Hardly.
Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah. And we have somebody in the studio,
with us.
Mr. Jonathan Latt,
Hey,
the
guys.
geek himself.
What's happening? Soar like a geekle.
Yeah, there we go.
geekle.
A
Yeah.
geekle.
Because that's a gathering of geeks then.
That
Yes.
is.
A geekle.
A
yeah.
geekle.
A gathering of geeks. A
Leave it
geekle.
to the writer to come up with something like that.
Yeah. Well, we are going to talk to Jonathan and see what he's up to, but we have to have an opening sound, of course.
Awooga.
Yeah. So we're here with Jonathan Latt to talk about and see what he is up to now. Welcome, Jonathan. What's been
Hey,
going
guys.
on?
Well, first of all, thank you so much. It's great to actually be in the mothership. Because, we've done this over, a couple of years ago at Comic-Con. We
Yeah.
sat down and did it, and we had so much fun. And we usually do these over Skype, which has limitations. Plus, we got to hang out last night, which was a
that was
lot
cool.
of fun.
It
I
was
love
good.
seeing you guys.
Oh, I've been looking forward to this weekend for a
And-
while since it was confirmed.
Yeah, and me too. And it's good to get out of town. And one of the great things about Phoenix is there really are just some amazing and convenient places to dump a body.
Amazing,
And-
inconvenient places.
Yeah, and and by the way, thank you guys last night for helping me out. It's
Yeah.
it's always easier to dispose.
We
of a
know
corpse
where the bodies
when,
are buried.
when you have
Boy,
two
do
extra
we
people.
ever.
But to get to see you guys and hang out for a little bit and have some
Yeah.
fun is always great. And hey, if I can write it off on the business as well, that's
Hey, no kidding.
that's
Yeah.
a double bonus.
See?
Not a problem.
But it's
You came here to do an interview, so you can write it off.
I did. And we went to where did we go last night?
Arrogant
The
Butcher.
Arrogant
Yeah.
Butcher,
Ugh.
yeah.
Your favorite meat restaurant.
Oh, so good. Just meat and cheese, not a vegetable to be seen.
You had some string beans.
Barely.
The Haricots Verts.
Yeah, the Haricots Verts. But no, things are really good. But I just heard from the publisher
Oh, cool.
last week, and we're about to go into our third printing of
Yay.
the Geek, which is
Fantastic.
nice. We're hovering around 9,500 copies sold. So if anybody wants to go out and buy 500 copies, so I can call myself a best-selling author, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And we have
So
we
is
have a widget for this book on our website.
Yeah. Now, do the electronic copies count?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
Oh, we're counting everything because I think where things get, you have I use gold standard, but that's not really true anymore. But you have the New York Times bestseller list, but it's really not accurate because the New York Times bestseller list really only covers, the top publishers and brick and mortar stores. And they don't really take into account the small publishing houses like with my publisher. And then, of course, indie publishing, which, self-publishing does not have the stigma it used to have.
No,
not anymore.
Yeah,
Oh, my God.
And I have a buddy who he self-published a book a few years ago, and he's sold 60,000, 70,000 copies.
Wow.
And you don't hear boo about it because, the New York Times doesn't really understand.
Right.
So you count downloads and for me as a nerd and a geek and a dork, Still rarely will read something on my tablet. I love holding a book, and reading a book. But for every hard copy we've sold 4 ebooks. And it's just the way that it is,
Right.
people.
I'd like to read with my iPad only because it's much easier on the eyes.
Right. No. And it's more convenient. You can carry around 30 books on your iPad and it's not going to weigh you down.
And you don't lose them on an airplane. I can't tell you how many books I've lost on an airplane.
That's sad.
It's like, I buy them all the time,
But I think it's just, that one of my, when I was growing up, it was, I wasn't a very athletic kid. I didn't like sports. I still find sports incredibly boring. Not that there's anything wrong with you. If you like sports, that's your thing. So I spent my childhoods crawling through the stacks of used bookstores in the San Fernando Valley and read it, and so maybe it's like, a hard copy book is like comfort food. It's like mac and cheese. Excuse me. But so it's the reception still is very nice. As you guys know, for reasons I won't get into on camera, last year for me was not as productive as it should have been, simply because I was taking care of someone.
Yes.
But I'm now sort of
nice.
Yeah. I am now I am now really back into full creative production, which is great. So I know I had promised Ben that the next novel was going to be Night Mage, but unfortunately it's not.
Dang it!
I know. But Blood Rebellious, which is my sci-fi novel, will be out mid-July. Followed up in the fall with Night Mage. I promise, Ben. And then the sequel to the
So excited for Night Mage.
I know. And it's one of those things where, for a while, Night Mage sort of took the lead. And I know
the little teaser story that you gave us. Oh my God!
I know,
It drove me insane.
I know.
For both of them, actually.
Yeah.
I like both of them.
And the way I write is, everybody's writing style is different. We've talked about this before.
Right.
And some people can really focus and go, I'm going to finish this no matter what. And my style, or lack thereof, is it's really whatever takes over your mind. It's that thing where Blood Rebellious just sort of took over, and I was really more in a groove on it. And I'm still jotting down stuff on Night Mage. And I think I told you last night, just finished the full plot of Stillwater, which is the sequel to The Geek. And that one, and it's funny, a lot of people were complaining that The Geek was too long at like 320.
What?
I know.
What?
No, it wasn't long enough.
Well, they're going to hate Stillwater because Stillwater's a much more complicated plot.
Right.
Blood Rebellious will probably be about 240 pages.
Yeah.
Night Mage is going to be around 3-something.
Okay.
But Stillwater will probably be around 500-600 pages.
Sweet.
Wow.
Because you get into the family and all this stuff with Marion Stillwater as a character in The Geek.
I'm just jazzed on that
Yeah.
so much.
His dialogue should be pretty easy.
It's going to be easy to write.
But he thinks a lot in his head.
But here's a little teaser. He, in a sense, he will actually talk in the book.
Well, I'm sure there's a way that he'll be able to express himself.
Oh no, but it's because as we're getting more into the family, we will be delving more into mysticism and the occult and things like that.
Which you kind of hinted at a little bit in The Geek, because as we see our protagonist, I mean, he's got Force-like powers.
Yeah.
In being able to dispatch people and defend himself at the same time. And isn't that kind of what got him on Stillwater's radar? Maybe?
Yeah, it was. But if you're curious about that, go ahead and download a copy of The Geek.
Please. And
it's only $2.99.
And it is.
I think it's $4.99.
Oh, is it $4? Yeah, it's $4.99.
It is such an amazing read. I mean, and I keep telling people that when I got to the last page, I kept saying, "No, there must be more."
And I do feel terrible that it's taking so long for the sequel, but it's such a complex story that I really need to sort of get these other smaller stories out of the way, so that I can concentrate fully.
Well,
on it.
I mean, you have to deal with the voices that are in your head.
Yeah.
And if there's other voices that are screaming at you, then you need to silence them. And the best way to do that is by letting them have their have their say.
Yeah.
And that is,
it's $4.99.
Yeah, and in this case, it's by you having an opportunity to write down what it is that's screaming in your head. So then they're silenced, and then it allows you to focus. I mean, our other author friend, Jeanne Koch, is kind of the same way with her.
Yeah.
She just can't. I mean, she wrote a short story that I just absolutely loved, and everybody's been kind of screaming, for a sequel on it. And she says, "Well, I know there's going to be one, but there's other voices that are speaking a little bit too loudly right now."
Yeah, absolutely. And it's with a. You're always dealing with those voices. Most of them nowadays are just telling me to eat pie, which is very, very, very tempting at my age. But excuse me. So all the book stuff's coming along. The Geek has been optioned.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that.
Have you got any more information?
Yeah, what can you tell us about that?
Let me just say this. So I don't want to say too much because I get very superstitious at the weirdest times. But I can say that and also I don't want to talk out of turn in the sense of a lot of these people that I'm now dealing with. So the Geek was optioned by 2 producers that I know. And
it's okay to say it's progressing. I'm good with that.
Well, but here's the thing. So, and they optioned it, and I know one of the producers really, really well. And we had a show at Fox together about 7 years ago. And we've been friends for almost 20 years at this point. But we had a show together at Fox, well, I guess more like 8 years ago, and we work really well together. And his partner, she loved the Geek, and so. But they're more of and they wouldn't take this in an insulting way. They're mid-level producers. And for what we want to do and to protect the story in terms of the integrity of taking the book and turning it into a TV show that doesn't bastardize the book and really respects the source material. You need people involved that can wield power. So we have recently brought on an A-list producer who loves the book and has very much made it very clear that, we're not screwing around with this.
Oh, they want to. This A-list producer wants to stick to the as you said, the source material, but keep to the spirit and the tone of the book.
Well, yes, and wants to do the source material, not like water it down, for an 8 p.m. slot,
not adapted too heavily.
Yeah. And
this is going to be after 9 p.m. or.
And then it's out to a couple of showrunners, which are network approved people that run TV shows, producers and writers. And, I think one of the things that's making people more comfortable about the Geek in the sense of, taking it to a network, mainly, hopefully a streaming service, is, so many times when you're dealing with writers, especially novelists, they don't really understand the business and they don't understand television. And I do. And one of the reasons this film producer, who I can't mention
That's
his
okay.
name,
No problem.
he read the book and then we met. And we did lunch. And
your people talk to his people, etc.
And he quickly realizes, like, okay, this guy is not going to be a pain in my butt. Like, he knows, like, I know the irony of, I will most likely not be allowed to write the pilot for the show based on my novel. So
we've had that conversation.
Yeah, so from the Writers Guild, the person that gets created by is the guy that writes the pilot.
Yeah.
So I won't get created by unless a miracle happens. I won't get created by on a show
that's based on your book.
Right. However, having said that, first of all, if you're talking from a financial standpoint, everybody's going to do just fine. But also with this team that they're putting together, and because the producers that optioned my book, one of them is such a good friend of mine, and because this new guy really likes me and respects what I've done and plan on doing, I'm really very comfortable in the knowledge that it's going to be treated the way it should be treated. I mean, I know these people. No.
No, I mean, Keith and I've had this conversation when he shared, because I guess he'd had a conversation with you, and he told me that you, because you were not going to be able to write the pilot, that you were not going to get the created by. And I remember, I mean, even though you seemed to be okay with it, I remember I was actually insulted.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm okay with it. I'm not thrilled about it. Of course, I would like to write the pilot, but to go to bat and say, if I don't write the pilot, you can't do this show, is short-sighted and silly.
Yeah. No, and I agree with that. I would just like to see, only because I love the source material so freaking much that I would like to see that.
Maybe you can consult on that and get it co-created by.
Well, that's unfortunately, that's not really how it works.
Well, darn it.
Well, but here's the thing. But of course,
I know. I'm just.
but I'll be a producer and a writer on the show,
right.
and I'll have input. And these people want to, again, if this were producers that I didn't know, I might be a little nervous or hesitant. But one of the guys that's involved in this, I've known for so long and has proven to have my back. Especially when we were at Fox, which is a viper's nest, as is any network and studio. So anyway, so that's going on. That's very good. I'm co-producing a couple of films we talked about last night. We won't get into here. And so it's, a lot of stuff keeping me busy. But in the end, I would rather just be left alone to write. But that's just not the way the industry works. So we had talked about, I have a podcast and my website, and I haven't updated my website in like a month and a half. And I'm putting on very long-term hiatus the podcast just because of time.
Mm-hmm.
The podcast is the hub of your media company, whereas mine is not. And so you have to decide what's the best use of my time. What's the best use of my time is getting these novels out so that
that's where your bread and butter is.
Yeah. And also, finally finish the freaking audiobook of The Geek and do all the audio.
I know. I'd forgotten about that.
Yeah, so did I.
What's the status of that?
That is it's there. It's just crazy. I work like 7 days a week, anywhere from 8 to 10 hours a day, sometimes 11. And it's just, again, it is amazing when you can do what you love and make a living at it. But then there are days where you go, the business changes so fast and so is constantly in a state of flux nowadays that, when I first started writing, it was all word of mouth. It was 95% work, 5% hustle. And it doesn't matter if you're a writer, a director, an actor, a producer. It's just not that way anymore. And so there's a lot more hustle that has to be done. Having said that, it's been a good year for me. Everything's really, really good. And like I mentioned at breakfast, did some internet work where 3 years ago, there was no money in the internet. And I wouldn't even do it. People would go, well, do this and we'll pay you so much. And it was like, that's just not even worth my time. And last year, all of a sudden, it was very much worth my. I'm like, okay, this got very serious very quickly. So that's interesting. And out of that now, we're sort of delving into writing experiences for virtual reality. And I just did air quotes on a podcast, so nobody knows that I did that. Now they do. And the VR experiences are really interesting because from a writer standpoint, and I've written video games and consulted in the video game business for a long time now. And I love writing, and I love linear, two-dimensional, passive writing,
Passive-aggressive writing?
Huh?
Passive-aggressive writing.
Everything I write is passive-aggressive. Nice shirt, by the way. But I'm kidding. It's actually a very nice shirt. I don't know why I said that. So, but the VR...
Stick a pencil in your ear.
So the VR stuff is great because it's written like a video game. And a video game can be 9 different stories depending on the choices you make in the game. And so that's so much fun for me. I love, it's if you make this choice, all this happens. And if you make, so it's
and the easy ones to write are if you make this choice, you're dead.
Yeah. No, and that happens.
Of course. I mean, that is part of the program.
Yeah. And the way they want me to approach it is basically they want me to write a choose your own adventure book, but for VR. And that's really, really fun.
Yeah.
So it's all it's all really, really good. Plus, I got to hang out with you guys.
Well, we always welcome that.
Got to meet the cats.
Yeah. Got to see the house.
Got to see the house. And
after we cleaned for 2 days.
It's certainly cleaner than my place.
Well, it wasn't before Friday morning.
Yeah, I should have seen it a few days ago. I want to get back on something you said. Now, in terms of this development that's taking place for the Geek.
Yes, sir.
You mentioned, network, and then you kind of said, hopefully streaming service.
Yeah.
Would you prefer to see it? Especially when you look at, what Hulu and Amazon Prime and especially Netflix. Some of the content that these streaming services are creating. Would you feel much more comfortable with an adaptation of the Geek actually making its way over to something like that? Because then it can be really maybe possibly truer to your initial vision as opposed to having to water it down for say, ABC or CBS?
Excuse me. We had breakfast this morning and I had some corned beef hash. Excuse me again. So the thing about the streaming services is, if you go to NBC, first of all, we're not even talking about NBC, CBS, ABC, not even Fox, because it'll never be, although Fox maybe. Have you guys seen Legion?
Not yet.
Legion is amazing and really kind of edgy, but the Geek, the Geek is far more messed up than Legion in its own way. So it would be like, there was a great interview with Vince Gilligan, who did Breaking Bad, who they said, they had originally pitched the networks and in the end were so happy that they didn't pick it up and that AMC is the one that bought it, because had it been on NBC, it would have, one of the other writers had said, had it been on NBC, it would have been called White Lies, because it's Walter White, and it would have been sort of this dramedy, sort of kooky thing, whereas it needed to be, it needed to be told in this, and to this day, Breaking Bad, Walter White's arc is one of the greatest and most deftly told character arcs in television history. And, so CBS, NBC, ABC, it's just not a right fit. So when we talk about it, we talk BBC America, we talk AMC, HBO, Showtime, but the main reason for an Amazon Prime or a Netflix or a Hulu, and even possibly, if they're willing to be edgy enough, the Disney streamer, is these guys don't greenlight pilots. They greenlight seasons.
Right.
And so, yes, they're shorter seasons. They're 10 to 13 episodes. However, when you have a TV staff is a big thing. It's this unwieldy, massive object. It's the Titanic.
Yeah, you got 26 episodes,
right?
And you got blah blah, and you got.
But no. What you have is an order for 26 episodes, and you end up with 2, right? So
you get an organ, because then there's a green light on the back half, et cetera, et cetera. It's a nightmare when it comes to network television.
Right, and they might green light the season, but if the ratings dump on episode 3, they're just gonna shelve the other episodes. So when you have whoever ends up writing the pilot, and the rest of the writing staff, if and it's also an ego thing, I think, when you know that the work you put in is going to be seen, you know what I mean? There's no doubt that people are going to see this work. It makes you a little more calm, because you're going to get some residuals. But it also helps you up your game, because if you nail the first season, which is going to be aired, you're going to get a second season.
Right.
And so, sure, the financial aspect of being paid for a season guaranteed is great, even though it's a smaller season, but it ups everybody's game.
Right.
And also with Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, especially Netflix nowadays, there's just less censorship. And while we don't necessarily want to be gratuitous, the Geek is written as a pulp novel and should really have the opportunity to be done that way. And when you look at something like, I guess it got mixed reviews, I don't know, but when you look at something like Altered Carbon, which I loved.
I did. Yeah, Keith and I
We-
loved.
I
Altered Carbon.
loved
that,
Altered
yeah.
Carbon, and they did not shy away from
Oh my God.
telling the story the way the story needed to be told.
The violence in that was truly inherent in the system.
Yeah.
It was gratuitous.
That's so well done. Thank you for doing that.
Well, and also the nudity, which needed because it and people will say it was gratuitous, but it really wasn't.
No, it wasn't. No,
it was necessary to the
No,
plot.
gratuitous is when you're doing it for the sake of just doing it.
Right.
And it's not. In the case of Altered Carbon, and we've got another episode that we're going to hopefully be releasing soon where we talk about that.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
But no, it's integral to the story.
Yeah. Well, because it talks about the desensitization of your own sort of, maybe insecurities. Because if you are a synthetic, a vat-grown body, it's not really your body.
Right.
So there's less sort of inhibition. And so it was very important, to show all that.
And the fact that you'd been alive for 300 years or something like that, I mean, it makes a huge difference in
But
being
Netflix
desensitized to nudity.
Yeah, and Netflix, does a really good job of I feel pushing the envelope without, pushing it to push it.
Right.
But then I haven't seen it yet, but I'm really excited to see it. Is on Hulu. You have this thing called Hard Sun, which looks very, very interesting. So the streaming services tend to be something that is very appealing, not just from a monetary standpoint, but from a creative standpoint. Plus, also, especially with Netflix, they just let you do what you want.
Right.
Oh, there's no question about it. I mean, Netflix.
And they have the money to do.
Well, they
to
do
that
now.
too,
I
so.
mean, obviously, Netflix has just gone once they've seen the success of House of Cards and Daredevil and Luke Cage, and the first seasons of Jessica Jones. I mean, it was such an eye opener and game changer.
Yeah.
I think for the entire industry that a lot of people are now looking at. I've got a series I want to sell, but I think I'd rather go to this streaming service because it will be more, for lack of a better term, unfiltered.
Yes. And also, the funny thing, like within the industry, there's a lot of talk of how, Netflix is overextended and they're going broke. And
I don't see that.
No, they're not.
Yeah.
They have, I believe, worldwide, they have 45 million subscribers paying anywhere from $11.99 to $14.99 a month.
Right.
A month.
And that's
Right.
regardless of whether you're watching the content or not. You're still paying for it.
So that's
$500 million a month.
Yeah. So trust me, they're doing just fine. And a lot of these other places are not playing catch up per se, but Amazon Prime is evidently upping their game in the original programming a lot.
Yeah, there was, what was it? The Gringo just came out. That was an Amazon Studios.
That looks really funny.
Yeah.
Looks really, I want to see that.
Andrea did a review of that, and so she said it was the train wreck that you should see.
That you need to see.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
But also Hulu with The Handmaid's Tale.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, these two new shows that I want to see. One is The Looming Tower, which is based on the book about how basically the theory is had the CIA and the FBI actually shared information, 9/11 could have been prevented.
Ooh,
and
dark.
And Jeff Daniels is in it, and I love Jeff Daniels so much. From The Newsroom to he did that Western on Netflix, Godless, where he played and it was a recent one. If you haven't seen Godless on Netflix, you need to see it because Jeff Daniels is terrifying. And you wouldn't think of Jeff Daniels as sort of this intimidating, terrifying guy, but he plays this, bandit in the Old West. And one of the reasons he's so terrifying is, whoever wrote this is a brilliant writer, but he's so three-dimensional. Like, you can see good parts of him and then see the mean parts of him. It's so good. It's so good. So he's in The Looming Tower, and then Hard Sun, which seems like an end-of-the-world detective kind of thing that I really want to see. And so everybody's really upping their game.
It's totally changing the industry. I mean, when we've seen this kind of thing happening where internet and broadcast television, we're going to be doing this merge, and I think it's only benefiting in terms of content.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. So, yeah, that's what's going on with me. Other than that, it's getting choked out and punched in the head.
Yeah. Yeah, we saw saw you being kicked several times.
Yeah, and that was just messing around.
And he's doing jujitsu, by the way. So.
And now I'm doing Muay Thai also. So,
oh, my Lord.
3 days a week of jiu-jitsu, 2 days a week of Muay Thai. Because I figured, why suck at one martial art when you can suck at two?
Yeah, and then you have 2 dadays to recover.
Then I have 2 days to recover, and I just cry.
Okay, so well, thank you. I mean, it's nice to know everything that's going on. It's glad. Bleh. I'm very happy to know what the status of Night Mage is now.
Yes.
I mean, I'm still anxiously.
I know. I'm sorry.
Ever since I read that short story, I went mad.
I'm working on it, man. I'm working on it, man.
And of course, Stillwater. Oh,
yeah,
man. So, if people want to know more about what you're doing, well, let me put it this way: if people want to know more about what you're doing but can't find it, because it's not being updated, hint, hint, hint.
I know. I'm working on some updates. But you can go to my website, jonathanlatt.com, which links to all my useless social media, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
What's that Instagram thing?
Is that a cracker?
Is that like the Twitter and the Facebook?
Are you kids with your Keanu Wests?
Is that the same as the internets?
That is the internets. It's a series of tubes.
The interwebs.
So you can go to jonathanlatt.com, and I am going to update it soon. You know, it's just been crazy. But I will get back to doing a series. Like I've been doing a lot of I haven't been doing anything. I was doing a lot of micro stories on the website.
Yeah.
I remember seeing those.
Yeah, which is really fun. I'm sorry, I'm so gassy from breakfast. But which was very good. We went to Mel's Diner. It was very good. But
the original Mel's
Diner
in
Diner.
Phoenix, Arizona.
It was very. We even had a sassy server, which was great.
Yeah.
And Keith admitted to something at the table that I can't say on air. So, but.
You'll have to remind us.
Keith was talking about playing with his food. In the words of Archer, phrasing. So, which was very fun. So go to my website. Also, if you're in the LA area and you'd like to pick up a paperback copy of the book, it is at a bookstore in Los Feliz. Holy crap! I just blanked on the name. That's terrible. Where's my phone?
Well,
we'll come back to it.
Well, we'll hang out, and then Jonathan's going to join us for the rest of the show, but we're going to move on to the birthdays here.
Sorry, audience.
No worries.
That I'm going to be here for the rest of the show, so you're going to have to put up with me.
You're fine.
Hey, this is Jonathan Ladd, author of The Geek, and you're listening to Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks webcast.
How weird was that for you just now?
Yeah. Thank God I'm just narcissistic enough.
And here's a few selected birthdays for March 19th through March 25th, 2018. March 19th, Patrick McGowan, who was
The Prisoner.
done a number of things.
A number of things, but The Prisoner is probably the thing that
Prisoner's
he's
amazing.
best well known for.
And he was also the Cylon in...
No, that's Patrick McNee.
Oh, Patrick McNee. That's
We
right.
always get those two mixed up.
I always get him confused. Oh, well. It's a Patrick.
Yeah.
And a Patrick Mick.
And Patrick McGowan, he was in Silver Streak. And he was also in that movie with Mel Gibson in Scotland.
Yeah, also on March
That's right.
19th is Billy Sheehan.
Now of the band Yes.
Yes. And Bruce Willis.
I have no idea who he is.
Who is that?
Never heard of him.
And Michael R. Menengay.
Oh, it's the Podfather.
The Podfather. Yes, the father of this podcast, as a matter of fact. And March 20th, Carl Palmer.
A maniac behind the drums.
David Thewlis, who was in Wonder Woman. Also in the Harry Potter.
That's right.
As well. And we have Freema Agyeman.
Formerly of Doctor Who, and more recently of the awesome Netflix series Sense8.
Yes. William Hurt. And then Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers.
Mr. Rogers.
Yeah, so he's and then John Delancey.
I met him once. The man is insane.
Yeah, also on March 20th is Henry Gibson.
Henrik Ibsen?
Oh, is that how you say it?
Well, that's what I'm reading.
I thought it was Henry Gibson.
No.
Oh, that's a different person.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, so he's not the little old guy on Laughing?
I believe he's a playwright.
Oh,
Ibsen.
okay. Yes, I see.
Close
Of course,
enough.
I had to put that in there
Of
just
course
for
you
that.
Close enough.
Yeah. March 21st, Timothy Dalton, Gary Oldman, Matthew Broderick, Modest Mussorgsky.
And
who
he's
wrote
not the least
pictures
bit modest.
at the pictures at an exhibition, among other things, and Crazy Joe Fiore. Happy birthday. March 22nd, Werner Klemperer.
Hogan!
Yes, but he was actually
An amazing pianist.
an accomplished pianist.
Really?
I will never forget the Hogan's Heroes episode that ended with Werner Klemperer actually playing the piano.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. He was the son of Otto Klemperer, who was a famed conductor.
Oh, that's a wunderbar.
Yes.
Ah.
Also on March 22nd,
William Shatner.
the
I'm
Shat.
gonna go to the bathroom.
Yeah. And Reese Witherspoon. And Marcel Marceau, the famed mime.
You know, he
Now-
was very famously once said,
No.
Actually, he did say no.
yeah, he did. It's a
Once.
silent movie.
In a silent movie,
Yeah.
right.
And
And I can't understand French.
yeah, I know it was amazing. But there's a funny story about Marcel Marceau. He was really big in the 60s. And when I was a child, I was maybe 3, and we were in JCPenney's, and they had one of these small elevators that was like big enough for 4 people. That's about it, with an operator. So, you know, the operator was doing that, and there was this woman in there. And of course, you know how children whisper. And I said, "Mommy, that woman looks like Marcel Marceau." She had so
much makeup.
on.
Oh, no.
It's like, and my mother just wanted to just slink out
Oh,
the
that's too
elevator.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, it's like, whoops. Anyway, March 23rd, Joan Crawford.
The mommy dearest herself.
Yeah, and Betty Nesmith Graham.
I'm going to say that's probably, was that the mother of Mike Nesmith?
Yes.
She invented-
He invented liquid
Liquid
paper.
paper.
Liquid
Yeah.
paper.
So
Absolutely.
there was Mike Nesmith, and he inherited that entire estate.
Yep.
Yeah.
So he never had to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not bad. It's
You
a good
didn't have
gig
to
if
worry
you can
about
get
making
it.
corrections either.
Exactly.
Also on March 23rd, Werner von Braun, who was the space program.
Yeah.
Well,
If
the
it
space
wasn't
program,
for-
yeah, he invented the rocket engine.
Exactly. If it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have been to the moon. And on March 23rd, some friends of ours, Andrew Godot and Jen McClary Allen from Horrible Imaginings Film Festival. March 23rd, Jim Parsons.
24th.
24th. Stop correcting. March 24th. I know what I'm doing. I can't read.
That's
I mean,
Pay
I can
no
read.
attention to that man behind the microphone.
Exactly. Jim Parsons, Harry Houdini, Joseph Priestley, who discovered oxygen, and Edward Weston, who was a contemporary of Ansel Adams, and he was also part of the F-64 group in San Francisco. So interesting times there. He was a great photographer. We saw a wonderful exhibition at the Art Museum of his photos. Also on March 24th, Georgius Agricola, who was born in 1494. Now, he was a theologian and a chemist and everything, but he wasn't a farmer. Does anybody get that?
No.
Agricola.
Agricola as in agriculture.
No,
No?
Agricola in Latin is farmer. It's one of the first words you learn.
Oh.
And it is
Nerd!
actually Agricola is a feminine word. and
Yeah,
it's
because
not a
yeah,
mascu-
right,
it's not a
because of
masculine.
the ending of the ending with an A.
Yeah. Also, a friend of ours on March 24th, Travis Osland of the
Origins Beyond the Impact.
Yeah, there you go. March 25th, Patrick Troughton,
Doctor.
the third Doctor.
Oh.
Yes. Second Doctor. Sorry.
Second Doctor. I'm like,
Second-
third Doctor?
Third
It's like,
Doc-
what are you talking
I
about?
thought, when I said
Well,
that, I
unless
thought,
you want to say,
what?
unless you're going to say Peter Cushing was actually the second Doctor because he modeled his after Hartnell. So
Yeah, well-
in that respect, okay, yeah, I just went way too nerdy.
Yeah, I just, when I said that, I thought,
That does not
that's
sound
not right.
No.
That's not right. Also, Lee Pace, And Bela Bartok, who was born in 1881, died in 1945, was the School of 12 Tone and wrote an incredible piece opera.
Bluebeard's Castle.
Bluebeard's Castle.
Holy
oh my God,
what an amazing piece of work.
Absolutely. And Arturo Toscanini, famed conductor. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Technorama, the podcast for geeks, because geeks are better than cool. You don't hear someone say, "Get away from me, you cool person." Who's gonna have their 65-inch home theater system installed by the Cool Squad? Not me, that's for sure. How much cool cred do you have? Not enough to care about. Think you'll find any canned unicorn meat at thinkcool.com? It's just a part domain name. They don't even have roadkill in a paper cup. That's why you need to start listening to Technorama, because that's what geeks do. Go to chuckchat.com and listen to Technorama before you turn cool.
Go give a listen to Chuck and Craig, our friends over at Technorama, at chuckchat.com/Technorama. And now it is time for...
Back slowly away from that mixer. Thank you. Oh my God. You'll never make it in the business as one of those DJs.
Oh, dang it. That's what I was going to make my
that was
second
your
career.
audition. That was your audition number?
How did you know?
Okay, so starting off, yes, this is the feedback time, and starting off with there's a little bit of a meta feedback here. Starting off with Arkle, and this is a comment for episode 160, and this is actually in regards to the feedback that he left for episode 160. And I'm going to quote what he said. I'm going to quote a little segment of the feedback that he left for the last episode. And he wrote, for instance, the most recent ones, as of when I'm writing, is the ones above the 7 times Sam aesthetic, a fan of my Voyager fanfic made for me. Yes, and I even commented that I thought that sentence made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Well, he... boy, did he call me out. He responded with 7 times Sam, snort. I take it you're not up with your shipper terminology.
What the
That's
hell
okay.
is shipper terminology?
I'm a relative newcomer to this myself. I've been aware of this concept for a long time, of course. I watched X-Files as a kid, and X-Files as a kid...
no.
That's
I'm
it.
Kill
You're,
myself now.
Arkle,
I hate you, Arkle.
You are dead to me.
Get off my lawn, Arkle.
I watched X-Files as a kid, and the Mulder Scully is basically where the term shipper became mainstream. But actively taking part in it, that's really only something I've started in my 30s. But yeah, the X, or times, is another way of denoting a pairing like the slash or a plus sign, or even exclamation point, apparently, according to Wikipedia. I just used it in my comment because that's how the aesthetic marker named it. 7 Ship Sam refers to the pairing of 7 of 9 and Ensign Samantha Wildman on Star Trek Voyager. I think I may have finally made a post too geeky even for this show.
I think you may be right.
7 Sam.
7 Sam? Well, maybe it's 7 Sam.
Yeah.
But no, the shipper thing, I don't even know what the origin of that really is. I mean, I was never a big X-Files fan. The show the show was too inconsistent for me. I mean, it would go from really phenomenal world building to episodes that were just plain out gross. And that was not able to sustain me. But yeah, I've heard other people use I ship this, or, I remember I was listening to another podcast that was done by Kevin Batchelder, and they were talking about an episode of Arrow. And one of Kevin's co-hosts says, I ship Felicity. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Don't slip the tongue.
Yep.
Yeah. No.
All these kids with their computer slang. I don't know what's going on anymore. This microphone is too spicy.
And moving right along, we got a nice little comment from Fanbase Press because we interviewed them last week, and they said thank you for your support of Fanbase Press. And following up with that, we got a comment from David Acampo, who is the co-writer of The Margins, that is being published by Fanbase Press.
Looks like a fabulous.
It does, and he says, "Oh, awesome! Can't wait to listen." And then we had some, we gave some birthday shout-outs, and we got a thank you from Graham Skipper. It was his birthday last week. He says, "Oh, thanks, guys." And we got one from Pia de los Muertos, or Pia Thrasher, and she says, "Thanks." And then Barbara Dillon, who we interviewed last week, she says, "Thanks for chatting with us."
Can I just say, I know we're all fans, mutual fans of each other, but also, how sweet are Bryant and Barbara?
Oh, they're just
they're
my
the
God. I love
nicest
them.
people.
They are really just cool.
I got to sit on a panel with Bryant last year, and then I did their podcast, and then they each came and did mine, and we chose a conspiracy to talk about. And they're just two of the nicest people you will ever meet in your life.
Oh, I
They
absolutely
really are.
You know,
I think the world of them both.
In fact, we had gone by their table at Phoenix Comic Con.
Phoenix, yeah.
And they said, "Oh, we know who you are." Joe
Oh, God, I remember
talked
that.
about us, so it was really interesting. So,
Yeah.
So hi Brian, hi Barbara.
yeah.
How are you guys?
And moving along, now we did not publish this story, but we shared this story on our website. And one of our favorite Netflix shows, Travelers, has been picked up for a third season. And the beautiful thing is that it was originally filmed for a channel up in Canada.
Yeah, Skynet or something.
Skynet, yeah. Skynet.
Yeah, Skynet.
And then it would air there, and then they would bring it down here. SpaceNet.
Space.com.
Space.com. Yeah.
Sky Space.
Yeah, it's Elon Musk's channel.
Space and Sky.
Yeah, Space and Sky.
Net.
Anyway, there is going to be a season 3,
Should I
which is
shut up?
please. And we're thrilled because that season 2 ended on one heck of a cliffhanger.
Oh, my Lord.
Yeah, that was like that. Wow, one of the best cliffhangers since Who Shot JR.
Exactly.
Seriously, I mean, this one just knocked me away. How they're going to resolve this, I don't know. And it's going to be coming back, and it will only be on Netflix this time, which means hopefully we'll get it a little bit sooner.
Yay.
I've got a couple of comments. One from David Wagner. He's of Origin Beyond the Impact, and he says, "Excellent series, although the skydiving episode from season 2 kind of badly broke the lore and world building, I think. Beyond that, highly recommended. Thanks for the great news."
Yeah.
And then also from Origin Beyond the Impact, and good friend of ours, Mark Biaggi, he writes, "Holy crap! I kind of wish they could undo that, but they really raised the stakes again.
Yep.
Not sure where they'll go from here, but I thought that at the end of season 1, and he's right. That season 1 cliffhanger was really good.
Wow, yeah.
Right. And then this last week, we ran the trailer for the new Avengers Infinity War. We're going to talk a little bit about that later on. And we got a comment from Tom Albert Gulbranson, and he writes, "Looks like Thor is in trouble." And we'll talk about the trailer in a little bit. And then he finished up by saying, "Also, holy bleep."
Yeah.
Yeah. And then to actually, as of when we are recording this episode, which is a Sunday, we ran our Spotlight Sunday article, and this time it was on our other favorite author, Jeanne Koch.
Yeah, and we ran that, and it may sound a little self-serving, but Jeanne has, as I said in the article, she has contributed a lot to the website.
So much for us.
Totally free.
Yeah.
And I mean, most frequently interviewed person and whatnot. So it was only right that we give her a little free press.
Exactly. And Hamish Downey,
Hamish.
yeah, he wrote back with, "I can see where the inspiration for Kitty comes from." And Kitty is one of her main characters in the Kitty Cat Alien series.
Nice.
And despite the title, it's actually a really good sci-fi series.
Yep.
It's a fantastic science fiction book series. And then last Sunday, we did another Sunday Spotlight of Brian Agustin. He was an editor for Flash Comics, as well as the writer
DC
of
Comics. For
DC
Flash.
Comics, yeah, as well as the writer of Gotham by Gaslight. And we got a comment from Tommy Cannon here in the Valley, and he says, "Love this guy. He's not only wicked talented, but..." Are you from Boston, Tommy?
He's wicked talented.
Wicked talented. He's also very funny and kind. He joined me at a dumpster fire of a panel at Ace Comic Con when I invited him. I didn't think he would actually come, but he did, and he killed it. He was crazy funny. Love him.
He is great.
Oh, and Brian
We love Brian.
I love Brian to death. I mean, he's terribly talented, and he's got the
Don't
driest
take that
sense
the
of
wrong
humor.
way, Brian.
No. Oh no, of course not. And his humor is so dry that in the event of a water emergency, you could use it as a flotation device. And that is our feedback for this week.
Yes. We want to hear from you, our listeners. You are important to us. You are very important to us. We love the feedback. As you can tell, we always share the feedback because it's always good fodder for conversation and more follow-up. You know, even we're having a conversation back and forth over 3 episodes
we've
now
done
with
that.
articles. So
Yeah.
if you want to comment on our articles, any of our articles on the website, on our episodes, you can comment in that article, on the episode on our website. You can comment on our Facebook page. You can comment on our YouTube episodes. You can even comment on Twitter, or you can call us on our listener feedback line, and that is 469-TG-GEEKS. That's 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice.
You don't need to hear their identification. They're the 2 gay geeks. They can go about their business. Move along.
Are you inventing dynamics?
I'm teasing. Torment.
Torture.
One of those. Yeah, one of those T words.
T words.
I'm really glad I bring out the best in you.
Oh God, this is every week.
Which, by the way, I should mention that now that I know there's a phone number.
There you go.
Oh dear
Hey.
God. Hey, we'll take it. We'll play it.
I don't like the podcast because you talk about the devil.
Well, see, we didn't talk about the series Lucifer this last week.
Everything's the devil.
Oh boy.
It's all of the devil.
Make America great again.
Oh, there
There it is. Okay, moving right along.
Moving
Sorry, I'm
right
going to
along.
stay away. You know, I can't.
We
help
stay
myself.
away from politics and
I know. Well, stay away from what?
porn. Politics and porn.
Well, what am I doing here?
I don't know.
I have nothing else to contribute.
Speaking of which, have you ever seen Flesh? No. Anyway, I've got a few things we want to talk about. I think we're okay to kind of start to venture into spoiler territory now with this movie. How far do we want to go?
Yeah.
I think these are kind of just high level at this point.
We don't have to go too deep geeking on them.
No.
Okay. First is A Wrinkle in Time, and the only reason we're bringing this one up is because this came up in conversation during dinner last night.
Spoiler alert, it sucks. No, sorry. That's harsh. That's
Yeah.
It's disappointing.
Yeah, I would say, yeah, it was a disappointing film.
Yeah.
It did not live up to what I'd hoped for. Again, if you want to know what I thought about it, you can always go to my the review that we posted on our website, and we'll put the link for the review on our website. Andrea was a little nicer about it.
well,
I mean, she still criticized on many of the same points that I did, but she liked it a little bit better than me.
Yeah. And just as a future shout out here, on Tuesday we're going to feature an essay that Andrea has written about Madeleine L'Engle.
So that could be interesting.
Yeah, it'll be a nice little essay.
So, okay, but Jonathan, I mean, obviously we don't want to go too spoilery.
No, I mean, look, it is very, one of these things I always get into, I do a lot of, I shouldn't say work, but, I like anybody who's dumb enough to want to try and write for a living. I want to help you, because let's make bad decisions together. And well, because writing's a thankless job for the most part, and it's a very monastic, solitary existence. So I work with a lot of writers, especially young writers. Well, I shouldn't say a lot, like 5 or 6. And, it's one of those things where, well, we'll get to that in a second. The main problem I had with it was, Madeleine L'Engle, one of the brilliant things about the Wrinkle in Time series. Pardon?
Go on, keep going. Keep going.
One of the things about the Wrinkle in Time series is Madeleine, who was religious, I am not religious at all, was able to combine, like we were talking about last night, religion, spirituality, hard science, and the occult, and tell these very interesting stories. and
and kind of blend these ideas together too.
Brilliantly.
Because some people can't. I mean, it's a very tricky thing to actually combine any kind of religion or spirituality with hard sci-fi.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the people at Disney said, let's take all that and just get rid of it.
For the second time.
Yeah.
Because this is because the theatrical film, that is Disney's second stab at that book. I mean, they did it back in the early 2000s for ABC television.
Yeah. And the other problem was, so they say, well, we'll just show it as science. And then I won't,
not.
and then not. And I don't want to get into that, but I was like, what, are you kidding me? But also just from a script writing standpoint, the dialogue was so clunky
I felt
and
that
cliched.
Too, yeah.
And a brilliant waste of an Oprah. Who I love Oprah. I do. I don't care. And then even the special effects, some were brilliant and some just looked low. It was low. Some of it just didn't work. And when you're Disney, your special effects cannot be bad.
Yeah, somebody, I think it was on Twitter, somebody said, and yes, Reese Witherspoon turned into a giant flying lettuce dragon.
Yeah. I was like, why is she kale? Why is she flying kale?
Yeah.
And then there were things where you have the innocent love interest, the boy.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
In the book, it's like, well, you're coming because you're a diplomat. And in the book, they explore that, and it's
Yeah, it's one of the things that I wrote about. And
He
where
was a
do we get
completely
that?
yeah,
wasted
and in the
character.
movie, they go, you're coming because you're a diplomat. Now shut up and don't do anything.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you're coming because
Shut up and look pretty.
yeah, just stand there and look pretty, darling. You'll fine. So there were a lot of problems with the movie. Most of them having to do, for me, with trying to say that, it would be more inclusive to take everything out of this book that made it so good and made it so special because we don't want to upset people that aren't Christian. But you know what I mean? Because that's obviously why, to me, that's why they did it. And I am the opposite of a Christian. Hail Satan. I am not religious at all. And I was offended. But it was like, when Jerry Seinfeld, the old Seinfeld show where he goes to the rabbi and he talks to him about this dentist who he feels converted to Judaism for the jokes. And the dentist said, "Oh, this offends you as a Jew." And he says, "No, it offends me as a comedian." and so I was not offended because I'm religious. I was offended as a writer that this was a terrible reason to take it out. The only reason, and this gets back to my earlier thing where I talk with a lot of young writers who always come to me and they'll have something in their short story or novel or screenplay where they've included a transgender person or a gay person or a minority, and when you ask them, I tend not to ask them like if it's a black person or a Hispanic person or whatever, why they're there, because we are a multi-racial society. And I believe in inclusion and things like that, and I certainly believe in representation. But when I talk to them, and I will always ask them, well, why is this person in your story transgender? Or why is this person in your story gay? And they will always say, without an exception, will have always said to me, well, because they need to be represented. I said, but why? What is it in the story?
Yeah, because if you're just saying that this need to be represented, that
Right.
kind of that tells me that feels more like pandering.
Well, and that's what I tell them. I go, that's almost
It's
as
backhanded racism.
right. I say that's almost as insulting as not representing. I said the only reason you put something in a story is because it facilitates the story,
Right.
or is integral to the story. And the only reason you take something out of a story is because it helps the story. So when you start including things for inclusion's sake and taking things out for exclusion's sake, you're not being a better creative. You're just, being lazy or pandering or, being, a backhanded racist, or discriminatory. And so the story should serve all.
Oh, I agree completely.
And if it doesn't, the only time where I will make an exception to that is if someone brings in a kooky comedy, where if it's a brilliantly done kooky comedy, there should be no rules and nothing really matters as long as it's funny.
Right.
But if it's and they always are, a drama or a slice of life thing, and trying to be everybody's woke bae or whatever, and for me, it's if it doesn't serve the story, it shouldn't be in there. Now, if you can find a way for it to serve the story, great. But you can't shoehorn it in. And Wrinkle in Time did the opposite of that. Well, they did both. They shoehorned in inclusion, which didn't add to the story. And they took out things for exclusion reasons that took away from the story.
Right.
And not only that, let's say they had kept all the religious overtones. They still butchered the book.
Badly.
Like going back to...
It was a story written by high school students.
Yeah, going back to Pretty Boy Floyd, who was a diplomat with no diplomacy.
Right.
And that would have been enough to make me mad. So, it's unfortunate because the books are brilliant. I'm not even going to get into Charles Wallace. Oh, my goodness gracious.
Okay.
And I don't blame the kid, but
Yeah.
good
Well,
Lord.
he was
my favorite part of the whole
precocious,
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah,
mean,
I
just-
have real problems that I will, yeah.
And ladies and
Okay.
gentlemen,
Sorry.
you can send your hate mail to Jonathan but I agree with
17512 Ventura Boulevard.
seriously. But actually, no, I agree with pretty much everything you said. I've got lots of friends on Facebook who have seen these are ladies. They've seen the film and they loved it. They said there's a little bit of a change in the book, but oh my goodness, it really just captured the whole spirit of. And I'm like,
No, it didn't.
No, it didn't.
And a little bit of a change.
A lot of a change.
That's like saying Infinity War starring Superman.
There we go.
Oh,
It's just a little bit of a change, but they really captured the spirit.
Speaking of Infinity War,
Speaking of Infinity
the
War.
trailer has dropped.
Yeah, we got the trailer for Avengers Infinity War, and man, did I just have I had the biggest geekasm ever.
Such a nerd on.
And it's like they finally included some. I'm going to pretend I didn't hear that.
I broke Keith.
Yeah, you did. They included actually some footage that was used at San Diego Comic-Con. And this is footage that fans have been dying to see. I mean, the Russos and Marvel Studios put together some footage that they just want to show as a kind of like a little sneak preview teaser trailer thingy at San Diego. And when they started, and everybody's like, well, where is this footage? We want to see it. And then finally, they started issuing trailers out for us, and we didn't get any of that. And finally, now we did.
Yeah.
We got some of it. And all I can say is that I just kind of, man, did I just giggle.
It looks so good. One of the, again, we were talking last night. Now look, it's going to be, first they're doing it over 2 movies, which is smart. And it's going to be a very tough balancing act, but I have so much confidence in Marvel at this point, because even when they misfire, it's still pretty darn good.
Exactly.
But this looks like there's that scene with Chris Pratt.
Oh my
and-
God!
and,
Somebody on Twitter said that's got to be my favorite scene now.
So far, that's my favorite scene, Chris Pratt and Robert Downey Jr.
Your plan's good, except that it's terrible.
It sucks.
And if I do this scene, then maybe we can do it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
And
Let
his-
me do the plan so it's good.
And Tony Stark's response is, "Wow."
Yeah. So
Brilliant.
They will probably really be able to walk that fine line like they did. Like again, Winter Soldier in my mind.
Oh my God, one of the finest movies ever.
Not just not just the best Marvel movie.
It's a phenomenal political thriller.
Yeah, but also there was still some funny. Not as much.
Oh yeah. As a movie. Period.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And then you go to Thor Ragnarok, which some people hated because it was so funny. I loved it.
I
because
enjoyed it.
God,
The first 2
just
Thor movies
hilarious.
was like, I need lithium. What are you guys doing? Lighten up a little bit. But I think this will really give you a nice balance between, Thanos is death. Well, he's in love with death.
He's in love with death, exactly.
And so I think it looks like they're really going to hit that sweet spot between serious and action and comedy.
It's going to have to be, because I am familiar with the Infinity War saga as told in the comic book, and I'll be honest, I don't like it. I actually don't like the story.
Really?
No, I hate it.
Huh.
I hate the story.
Well,
but what I think is going to really work for me is we're going to see these characters that have been so fleshed out over a series of movies now, and to watch them interact. As you said, Chris Pratt and Robert Downey Jr. on screen together.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. Or there's a great bit with Peter Parker talking to Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And he is, I'm Doctor Strange. Oh, we're using our secret names now. Okay,
Yeah.
well,
No,
I'm
made-up names.
Made up names. I'm Spider-Man, and you see Doctor Strange kind of going, oh, dear God.
Well, and we don't have to, get into it again here, but, like you just said with Infinity War, one of the reasons I think we're so confident that it's going to be good, and one of the reasons I think we will be less judgmental, for lack of a better term, is because Marvel has spent so much time carefully building up our emotional investment in these characters and doing it so brilliantly, where we were talking last night about, DC's biggest problem is Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Whereas Marvel doesn't have that problem. Yes, Disney owns Marvel, but they're left to
Disney
themselves.
leaves Marvel alone. They say, we're not interfering. You guys,
because
you know
they're
what you're doing.
smart.
Yeah.
And Warner Brothers has desperately tried to play catch up, which was stupid. So Warner Brothers / DC, their philosophy on how to make these movies is all wrong. The only good one they've done is Wonder Woman, which was one of my favorite movies of last year.
Mine too.
But because Marvel has carefully thought this out, we are so ready for this because we've spent hundreds of hours, thousands of dollars
Oh gosh, yeah.
on movie tickets and DVDs and swag and
watch these movies again and again and again.
Yeah, and because they're so fun.
And I have utter faith in the Russo brothers because they did Winter Soldier, which, as we said, is one of the finest movies
Great.
ever made. And I just loved Civil War.
Yeah,
And
I like Civil War.
They're very good at directing action.
They are
Excellent. And Infinity War is going to be all action. That's a
Yeah.
movie which Kevin Feige has already said that movie hits the ground running. So I think whether the story is great or not, I think you're in for a very, very fun ride, to say the least.
Sorry, go ahead, Keith.
I was just going to segue into, speaking of action,
Oh, okay.
Ready Player One.
Ready Player One. Okay, so that one we are we're weeks.
Yeah.
Because I think that comes out in March.
Is
this
it?
month. I think it comes out at the end of this month.
Oh, wow.
I'm pretty.
Oh, that's right. It does.
Yeah,
I'm actually.
comes out at the end of this month.
I get to be very Hollywood and go to Warner Brothers for a pre-screening.
I
I know. I'm a fancy man.
Well, it looks fascinating.
That movie looks absolutely fantastic. Although we had some comments about some of the trailer is showing a couple of things that aren't exactly in the book. So it looks like that they're going to have to take some serious liberties.
Yeah.
And it looks like they did take serious liberties in adapting that tome.
Yeah, well, we were talking last night where my biggest concern about it has always been, unless they Roger Rabbit it, which is, with Roger Rabbit, they had Disney and Warner Brothers and got everybody there and went, you know what, just use our characters. It's brilliant. And it doesn't look like they Roger Rabbited it.
No. And I think part of it is Spielberg saying that he didn't want to go full geek pop culture reference on it. And then there's some of the rights. I mean, are they able to get the rights to use Ultraman in the movie?
But that's what I'm talking about in terms of Roger Rabbiting, is getting the rights to the characters
Right.
and getting everything. And I don't know. But yeah, like we were talking last night, both of us were like, we better see
I need
Ultraman
Ultraman
on
in that movie.
screen.
I know.
But they couldn't have gotten a better director for something like this. I can't think of
absolutely.
anybody more suited to something like this than Spielberg. So I'm pretty excited. Ready Player One was one of my favorite books of the last few years. I've actually read it.
I've read it twice.
Yeah, I've read it like 2 or 3 times. We were talking last night about sort of the progression where, I don't know that I would consider Ready Player One a cyberpunk book.
Not
it's
really,
really not.
no.
But you know, you had Neuromancer from William Gibson, and now I'm reading a book right now called Snow Crash, which I believe, if not for Neuromancer, Snow Crash never would have happened. And Snow Crash came out in, I believe, the early 90s. And I don't know if Ernest Cline read it, but I believe he did, because while there's nothing about Ready Player One that's ripping off Snow Crash, but I find it hard to believe that he was not influenced in a very positive way by Snow Crash. And so it's just been very interesting for me to, I had read Neuromancer, which is still one of my favorite books. I had read Ready Player One, and then I read this middle tome that sort of was able to connect it all together. And if you haven't read Snow Crash, I highly recommend it. It's hard to predict the future, but it's a very, very interesting read, and I think you'll be able to see how it probably influenced Ready Player One. But I think the movie, it just looks like it's just going to be a whole lot of fun.
It's going to be huge no matter what,
Yeah.
because there'll be a lot of people that are going to go run to see it who maybe have never read the book.
Yeah.
So if there's any disappointment that I'm sensing, it's only because maybe it doesn't quite.
You know, maybe you don't see Serenity.
Yeah, I don't see the Starship Serenity or things like that. You know, some of the things that I thought were just. I mean, like, or some of the scenes. You know, I want to see the Holy Grail scene.
Yeah.
Or the War Games scene with
Yeah.
you know, from Matthew Broderick's film. You know, to see these things get reenacted, that's something that I was very tickled with. I don't think they're going to be able to pull that off. It would be funny if they did. So they're obviously going to have to take some very serious liberties when they're actually when this film finally comes out. But nonetheless, it's something I'm looking forward to. So thank you for the conversation on all of that, Jonathan.
No, so yeah, thanks for letting me hog all the airtime.
And we have our weekly review that we're looking at. For those who listen only to our webcast, we have a website that you might want to take a look at and see what we have.
No kidding.
We have something interesting content, and it's been one of those very busy weeks. Monday, we had episode 160 that was released. On Tuesday, we had Touched by an Alien review by Andrea. And then we had a press release for Prodigy that was released on Video on Demand. Wednesday, we had another entry from Jeannie in our Old Classics newly reviewed series. She did Ocean's 11 from 1960. And we had a trailer from Amazon Studios, Life Itself, that was just released that day. On Thursday, our 3-episode thoughts were for Jessica Jones.
Season 2.
Season 2, and that was for our TV Thursday, and Andrea did that. And then the Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald trailer dropped. So that was really kind of...
that was...
On top of that one,
thank heaven for that.
A couple of minutes after it was released, we got that out there. And then on Friday, we had our Potpourri, our new Suchi number 2 from Hamish Downey, and which was Hamish lives in Japan, so he's giving us some Japanese news, Japanese-centric news, shall we say. We had a Love, Simon review from Andrea, and then we had the Avengers Infinity War trailer that I was right on top of, and then the Tomb Raider review. Saturday was another entry in our Social Saturday featuring Mysterious Galaxy in San Diego, and another entry in the Spotlight Sunday today, as of this recording, for Jeanne Koch. You can find all these at tggeeks.com, as well as entries on our Facebook page. Please visit and comment. And as always, we have our follow-up items. Check out the calendar on our website. We've got lots of stuff on there. If you have a film festival or something on that you want us to talk about, send us a note. We'll put it on the calendar and give a shout-out on an episode. Phoenix Film Festival, April 5th through 15th, 2018 at Harkins Scottsdale 101. Over 250 films and 25,000 attendees over 11 days.
So freaking busy.
Oh my gosh. We're sponsors this year, so we're going to be
We're there
as much as possible. And Phoenix Comic Fest takes place at Phoenix Convention Center on May 24th through the 27th, 2018. Next month, Arizona Opera presents Das Wrinkle, Richard Wagner's first opera in his epic 4-opera ring cycle. It's playing in Phoenix April 6th through 8th and Tucson April 14th and 15th. Tickets are still available at arizonaopera.org. Check out the 3rd edition of Podcasting for Dummies, written by T. Morris and Chuck Tomasi. Go to podcastingfordummies.com. My God, I've got so many things all in a line here. We need to break some of these up so that you can talk in between.
You're the one who put them there, not me.
I know. And as everybody knows, we're huge supporters of independent creators, whether it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, or others. Please support independent creators. Buy their stuff. Give them money. Do all kinds of things. Talk about them. Post about them. Twitter about them.
It's Skylight Books in Los Feliz.
There it is. Los Feliz.
And I feel terrible. They've been so supportive. So you can go pick up a paperback copy. Speaking of supporting independent people.
Yeah. And now. Oh.
No, you still have one more.
I still have one more.
I'm
Good
sorry.
God almighty. A special shout out to our friend and expert travel agent, Teresa Corey of Fairy Godmother Travel. Can you tell that's maybe a Disney related? She is a small independent travel agent specializing in all things Disney. Cruises, Disney World, Disneyland.
Adventure by Disney.
Adventure by Disney and Universe by Disney coming soon.
Universe by Disney?
Well, you never know.
Oh,
they're going to own everything pretty soon.
At the rate they're going,
yeah. Check out the widget on the right-hand side of the page for more info. Tell her Ben and Keith sent you.
Special shout-out to Doctor Who, Talking Who, and The Human Arkle on Twitter, both on Twitter. They both have little paperlies that they like to publish that continually republish our content. You can find Doctor Who, Talking Who's by going to Twitter and looking for @TalkingWho. Theirs is the Doctor Who Fancast Guide. And the Human Arkle, you heard him in his feedback a little bit earlier today. He posts the Arkle Times Post Dispatch News, and you can find him by going to Twitter and searching @Arkle. And he also has the Incorrect Star Trek Voyager Coach. You can find that at Tumblr. We will have the link for that on our website. And we want to give a special shout out also to the Facebook group The Gay Geek, because they allow us to post our episodes and sometimes even our reviews. Like we shared our review of Love, Simon over there. So we have to give special thanks to Jeremiah Reeves, their moderator, for allowing us to share our episodes and story content there. And you can find them by going to facebook.com/groups/thegaygeek.
Thank you, Jeremiah. And we want to remind you to occasionally click on our Amazon ads that we have all over the place on our website. It's It kind of helpful sometimes. We feature a lot of content for people that we know and love, and buy their stuff.
Yes.
And lastly, check us out on iHeartRadio. Please rate us and review us on iTunes and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And I think that's all of the stuff. Up next week. We have a really exciting interview in the can. I think we're going to run next week. So stay tuned. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this webcast episode. We're going to have several links on the page of things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or our website, tggeeks.com, or you can leave us a voicemail at 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. I bid you peace.
Thank you for being with us, Jonathan.
Thanks, guys. I always love hanging out with you, so thank you so much for letting me come on.
Cheers.